Welcome to Holistic Human Performance Podcast. My name is Gena Bradshaw, where we talk all things holistic health, wellness, spirituality, fitness, meditation, energetics, and so much more to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. Let's dive in. This is not medical advice. This is simply to help you on your journey through health, fitness, and wellness. I hope this helps. You can complement this with anything that you are doing currently in your life. Enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Holistic Human Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Gena Bradshaw, and today we have a special guest, Jennifer Vazquez, aka Taz. Love the nickname. We met through an amazing connection. I believe it was Dorothy, right?
Yeah.
And again, you'll hear me say this so many times, and how I met people. It's through connection, communities, networks with like-minded individuals that I selfishly would love to pick their brain. So Taz is an EFT Master Practitioner, a life coach, fitness instructor, writer, and a veteran. With over 27 years of coaching, mentoring, leadership, and counseling experience. She specializes in helping others overcome PTSD, trauma, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and navigating challenging life transitions. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for hosting me today and inviting me on. And yes, I loved it when Dorothy, who leads a group called Women Belong, connected us together, because it's all about that empowerment, that connection, and having those conversations. And so, yeah, this is awesome.
Yes. And also when I found out you were an EFT practitioner, which by the way, emotional freedom tapping technique. And I was like, I need to check this out and have a session with you. I love gathering these tools so that you can have them in your toolbox for when you're going through very challenging life transitions and these transformative experiences when it comes to life.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us first and foremost, who you are, what you do, and kind of how you even got into this realm of dealing with, EFT and these different tools and techniques you use to help other people.
Sure. So bottom line for me, like many of us, when we get into that helping profession and that space, it's because of something that happened in our own lives. And we in turn then want to be able to give back and help and support others. And that's what I'm all about. For me, a lifetime of post-traumatic stress and anxiety and depression. And at the very lowest point in my life, I was borderline obese. I had heart issues. I had ulcers. I was sick all the time. I had endometriosis. Trying to think, that was the main health stuff in addition to all of that.
Right.
So at my lowest point, I really had asked myself, is this what life is going to be about? And I remember feeling a sense of suicide ideation and and I remember going, okay, what else can I do? And I remember a promise I had made to my parents that I wouldn't do that because they had known others that had made that decision for themselves, and just the ramifications and the ripple effects that it has on community. And in addition to that, there are so many veterans who are living with post-traumatic stress. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to go, there's got to be another way. And so I started going, all right, you know what? Hell no, this is not what I want to do. And I started getting back into slowly taking those little steps of what can I do to improve my health? What can I do to change my life? And that's where along the way, two things I discovered. One was emotional freedom techniques, also known as tapping, because it's tapping along acupuncture points. And by tapping along acupuncture points, we're actually keeping our nervous system calm. So then we're actually able to go in and be able to help rewire our brain from that fight, flight, freeze mode, and the brain thinking that from the negative perspective, to be able to rewire and build new neural pathways more towards the positive and what we want in life, to be able to resolve PTSD, anxiety, depression, and a litany of so many other things. So that was a really powerful influence in my life when I experienced it, and a practitioner helped me be able to really reintegrate and let go of the post-traumatic stress in my life from a childhood incident, and then also when I was in the military. That was one thing. Another thing, the researcher in me geeks out on this, but there's a statistic that actually shows, that we have over 60,000 thoughts a day, and 90 to 95% of them are negative, are repetitive, sorry, and then 80 to 85% of those, guess what, are negative. I mean, so we really are walking around subconsciously in fight, flight, freeze mode. And when I realized that, I'm like, I had been walking around listening to that and buying into it and believing it. And that's where I got really curious then, from a life coaching perspective of, okay, how can you change mindset? What do you need to do? How can you shift to help your brain and to become more aware of those automatic negative thoughts? And how can you rewire them? Because they're connected to emotion, they're connected to memories, they're connected to limiting beliefs that we have, like I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. Things that we picked up typically as a kid and then just kind of kept carrying forward that same message, even though it's no longer true or accurate and or no longer serving us, right? We did it for a reason, we picked it up for a reason. It's just now in our lives, it's not helpful anymore. And so those two areas, plus one other for me as the veteran side of the house, was a program called Warrior Path through the Boulder Crest Foundation and its organizations that it's connected with, like here in the Pacific Northwest. It's the Permission to Start Dreaming Foundation. And they have a 1 week in residence and then a several month program where you are with a small group of other veterans, and it's peer led, and you're learning 31 wellness practices that are really enabling you to shift from that post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth, where then you get to a point like this where you're just able to share your story and be able to help others know that they're not alone and that there is another way. And so that's why I just get fired up. My tagline for me is, do you want to rewrite your story and live your life with more passion, purpose, and play? Because that's what I really have learned, that life can be so much different when we really start to tune in and change that subconscious messaging that we've been carrying around with us for years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you think about it, so many people are walking around anxious, depressed, PTSD, and not knowing kind of where to turn. And I mean, I believe though now, and I'm sure you would agree with this, it's becoming more popular. It's becoming more prevalent. People are talking about it, which is amazing. And also why I started this platform. So other people who are struggling and they're stuck in that survival mode and, wanting to thrive, but not really sure where to start. Like this is a great place to start.
Yes, so true.
And I must say, so when I did this tapping session with Taz, it was so helpful. I didn't mention this on the podcast at all, but I had gone through a car accident. It was very scary. It was very traumatic. And I was like really shook up, and Taz took me through this whole tapping series, and it was so helpful. Like I felt so much better by the end of it. Now when I speak about it, I'm not so like worked up. I'm like, I'm fine. Like there's no emotional charge behind it, which is awesome, obviously, because who wants to be walking around with that trauma? We don't want to hold on to that. We got to let things flow and move. And she kind of like worked through the memory of it. And it was a really cool way about her style, particularly with tapping, that was so intriguing to me and was extremely helpful. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you for sharing that, because it's so, a lot of times people go tapping, and even I did, I was trained as a counselor, and 20 years ago, as I was helping people and just coming into residency as a counselor, I'd heard about tapping, and I'm like, that is so woo-woo. No, I'm not doing it, and then come full circle in my life where it is just a core part of what I do and how I serve, because I'm so passionate about it and how effective it is. There's studies that talk about 86% of veterans who have gone through tapping when they've done some control groups, 86% were able to resolve the PTSD. No longer triggering. And I'm an example of that. Through the different things, through the tapping and the Warrior Path program, and then the maintenance piece, the breath work, the mindfulness, meditation, having that in my life regularly, I went from any loud noise that I would just constantly be triggered by or get angry very quickly and dysregulated emotionally very quickly. I was able to be outside a few years ago when it was 4th of July, and here in the Pacific Northwest, boy, do they love their fireworks.
Right.
It was worse than a war zone. Just constantly intermittent fireworks, M80s, all these loud noises going off. The year before that, I was underneath a cover because there was about 6-hour period of just constant fireworks. The dogs were cowering. I was curled up in a ball, wishing this noise would go away. Going through my healing journey, literally that next 4th of July, I was standing outside and I had tears streaming down my face, not because of the noise, but because I wasn't flinching at all. And that's the power that, tapping can really bring, and post-traumatic growth can really bring for somebody. And yeah, it's beautiful. I've been able to help a client who they had a near-death experience, and they were really, really anxious and fearful about an upcoming heart procedure that they had. And we were able to do tapping. We did an integrative called picture tapping, where you integrate art therapy with tapping. That's really, really an amazing modality. And one session, they were able to let go of the trauma from the near-death experience and let go of the anxiety and the fear, and then bring it to a point where they had their heart procedure with flying colors, no issues, came home very quickly, and so just that's an example of how tapping can be so effective, even though people go, what is that? Is that woo-woo? Is that, what do you mean you're tapping on your, parts of your body? And it's all based on, a lot of studies, as well as thousands of years of impact of acupuncture. And then from there, using modern psychology and resources to be able to then bring that nervous system to a place where it's regulated and calm. So then you can start dealing with whatever the issue is and those emotions and thoughts and memories that are tagged to it, and be able to let those go and resolve them.
I think that people need to start waking up to the fact that science and spirituality are two sides of the same coin. Yeah. There are research studies on energy medicine. There are research studies on acupuncture. There are research studies on tapping. There are research studies on chanting. There are research studies on, emotional intelligence and how it gets lodged in the body.
Yep.
This stuff, when people say it's woo-woo, it's like, it's not, though. It's legitimately science.
You just don't understand it. You don't understand how it works. And that's what, as a practitioner, right? That's what I love. I geek out on that. I love understanding, how is it working? Why is it working? How does it help somebody? And that's what my responsibility is, right? So then that way when you experience it, you truly get to experience what you felt was this traumatic, and it was this traumatic incident, and then just be able to go, oh, it was just a memory. I had ice cream today. I was in a car accident today, and have that same memory just from a different perspective.
Yes, that's exactly right. And what I'm noticing more and more, especially with the work that we do in different ways, but very similar. I actually had a session with someone doing energy healing with her, and it was very clear that she didn't have any emotional intelligence. And she even said, she's like, I have no idea how to control my emotions. And, she just allowed these emotions to wave through her, and, it was stored in her body. And I was explaining to her, you have to utilize these maintenance tools and, these things that you weren't taught you know, and here's the thing, we weren't taught that at a young age. And that's why people are like, oh, it's just woo woo, like whatever. It's just nothing.
Yep.
But again, like this is why we do what we do. And this is why I'm having you on. So why don't you tell us about the technique, what it is, and how it works?
All right. So, and I know we have a short time together today, but I really would love to be able to provide the audience with an example of tapping. It'll be a short one, and it's
You read my mind.
Positive. So
you read my mind. Perfect.
Okay. So tapping, why it works. So you're literally tapping on, if you're using the short version, it's just 9 points. You know, we start with the side of the hand, and when we do it, we do a setup statement, which incorporates whatever the issue is, whatever the emotion is. You want to acknowledge it. It's the big elephant in a pink tutu standing right behind your shoulder. And if you deny it, it just gets bigger, and it just lets you know it's there. So you want to identify it and acknowledge it. And then from there, we do a positive affirmation statement, because it's really bringing yourself into the present. It's also enabling you to see that there can be a different way, and it starts to relax your body. Then we just do a reminder phrase on different acupuncture points or acupoints, you know, without the needles, tapping on those points. And that helps a couple things. One, it's calming the nervous system. So it's interrupting a natural fight, flight, freeze mechanism if there's already a trigger there for whatever issue might be going on emotionally, right? And so we're interrupting that. Additionally, it's also keeping you present, because you feel that sensation of the tapping, right? And then you're also saying a reminder phrase. So if we were dealing with that anxiety, maybe the reminder phrase might be this anxiety. And you could just keep it that simple, this anxiety and all those points. And you do 3 rounds of that. And then you check in. You start with, hey, how intense is this? You do the tapping, you check in again. How intense is it? Vast majority of the time, you're going to see a shift, even if it's a couple numbers, because we do it on a scale of 0 to 10. Even if you've shifted it 2 numbers, that's a shift. Your nervous system is showing you, and your brain and your body are showing you it's connected. They're listening. It's helping you then be able to work through that. And then you just keep going. And there may be different aspects. Maybe you tinker with, you know, the feeling, the emotion. Where is it in your body? How is it stored? If some of you are saying, well, that seems kind of woo-woo, I want you to think about it. Think about stress. Whenever you're stressed, where do you carry it over time? A lot of times women will say they get a tightness in their shoulders, right? Or maybe it's flutters in the stomach, or over time, if it's chronic, maybe it's an ulcer that develops there because you haven't dealt with that anxiety. Or maybe it's that constant tightness in the shoulders or the back. That's the perfect example from a neuroscience perspective of understanding how emotion gets trapped in the body, and then from there manifests in certain sensations over time that kind of quietly at first, and then if you don't deal with it, it keeps progressing, you know, to a point where it goes, hello, I am here. Are you going to deal with this? Because otherwise you're going to have to. Through illness or whatever it might be, you know, that's happening, that's just progressed over time. So the more that we can use the tapping, the more that you're able to calm your nervous system, and the quicker you're able to work through an issue. And then let's say you did tapping, you're like, you know, there was no shift whatsoever. It just means that there's something there that needs to be acknowledged more and or get more specific. Because if it's too general, that, you know, it doesn't work as well. And it's the same thing, right? If we don't really focus on what is and tuning into more awareness of what's causing this emotion or these negative thoughts or this issue, it's harder to pull that thread and resolve it, right? And so that's what you want to keep doing. And that's why the beauty of tapping is not only having practitioners that do this, yet at the same time, I like to work myself out of a job because it's a technique that we all can use. And so anytime that we need it, if you're feeling nervous about driving, you know, you just tap, you know, and you can say that you wake up in the middle of the night, you can tap, or you get to the point where you know the points, and you can do what we call imagine tapping. And you just imagine tapping and saying this insomnia without tapping, and you fall back to sleep. I mean, so there's so many useful benefits of being able to do this with a practitioner or on your own as well.
It's just so wild, like how basic it is and like how effective it is.
Right? Yeah. And
just like everything else.
And there's naysayers who go, oh, it's the placebo effect, meaning that, it's
Yeah.
like, you want to be better, therefore you're better. Well, guess what? That's true of anything, right? It's what your mind is focusing on. That's where the energy flows. And so it's not about being a placebo effect, because they've done studies to actually show how all this works. They've actually done the fMRI studies. They've done different ways of being able to see before and after tapping, and actually how it's different in your brain and your body.
Right. And even if it was the placebo effect, I just have to say this, why not try it? Because I mean, hello,
It's
like
so
you're
good.
proving your own point.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, all right, well, you do some yoga, you feel better. Well, why? Because you're in that zone, you're in that meditative state, you're moving your body, you're stretching. And those are some key things that we're designed to move and that we need to be able to do from a health and well-being perspective.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's do a quick tapping. So for those of you who are listening, you can obviously follow along and she'll tell us each point. But you can also check this out on YouTube and watch the video.
Yep. And so, okay, so today we're going to do a brief tapping, and it's dealing with anxiety and breath work. And so this particular tapping is, I've got another tapping out there that's a little bit longer, that's not going to have the breath work piece, and it'll go into more depth. But this one, we're going to deal with taking a look at what's causing our stress, and then adding the breath work with something that's a component that's very important along with the tapping. And you really should start to see if you think of a spectrum, right, where you're being able to use tapping for mindfulness and meditation, meaning it's going to help you for a period of time, and then you're going to get back into your day-to-day, and you may find that things creep back up in terms of stress level. If you get it down to a point, or you start doing this regularly, you're going to find where that happens less and less. Or if there's another specific issue that's causing that anxiety, I encourage you to explore that a little bit more, or maybe consider working with a practitioner. Okay. Having said that, let's go. So I'm going to invite you all to kind of sit back in a comfortable position. And I want you to just take a nice, calm breath in. Ideally in through the nose, but based on your practice, whatever it might be, inhale, maybe hold for a count or two, and then I'd like you to exhale. A little longer exhale. Do that one more time. Nice breath in, hold for a count or two, and then a little longer exhale. We're already starting to calm our nervous system. And then I invite you to just gently start tapping on the side of your hand. And that tapping can be, it's right on the side, we call it the karate chop point, or the side of the hand where it's the meaty part of the hand. And you're just gently tapping, and it doesn't matter which hand. And if for some reason that tactile sense of tapping isn't comfortable, you can also do press and release. And just as you're tapping, I'd like you to tune into your body. Maybe just do a quick scan from head to toe, and just kind of notice what sensations or what emotions might be coming up for you. And we're going to focus today a little bit more on stress and anxiety that you might be feeling, and just kind of tune into that. And in your body, where do you notice it? Maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's someplace in your back, maybe it's your stomach, just wherever it might be for you. And just note that, nothing you have to do with it, just being curious, non-judgmental, just aware. And then as we tap on the side of the hand, this is where we're going to do that setup statement. And I invite you to repeat it out loud or repeat it silently. Both work, depending on where you're at. So, and then just repeat after me. So even though I'm feeling anxious.
Even though I'm feeling anxious.
And I'm feeling it in and the name where that is for you.
And I'm feeling it in my back.
My back. I love and accept myself as I am now.
I love and accept myself as I am now.
Good. We're going to say that 2 more times. So even though I'm feeling anxious.
Even though I'm feeling anxious.
And I'm feeling it in wherever
I'm feeling it in my back.
In your back. I honor this is how I feel right now.
I honor this is how I feel right now.
And I love and respect myself as I am now.
And I love and respect myself as I am now.
And one more time. So even though I'm feeling this anxiousness.
Even though I'm feeling this anxiousness.
And I'm feeling it in.
And I'm feeling it in my back.
Your back. I honor this is how I feel.
I honor this is how I feel.
And I'm open to releasing it when I'm ready.
and I'm open to releasing it when I'm ready.
I love and accept myself as I am now.
I love and accept myself as I am now.
Good. Top of the head, right at the crown, one hand, other hand, or both. Just tapping or press and release this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good. And we're coming to our eyebrow point, which is right at the corner of the eyebrow and where the nasal passage ends. Right in there, one hand or the other or both. This anxiety.
This anxiety.
And then right on the corner of the eye, right on the eye socket on the corner of the eye, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Same thing, it can be either side or both. Underneath the eye, right on the eye socket, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good. And underneath the nose, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
And then underneath the mouth, right on the chin there. Yep, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good. Now coming to the collarbone, it can be one hand or both, kind of naturally where they fall on your collarbone at that 45-degree angle when you just bring them up. Right there on that bone is where you want to be tapping this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Yeah. We're going to keep it simple with a basic recipe today. So we're just going to go underneath the arm. So it's about 4 inches below the armpit, right on that meaty section. Just tapping right there, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good, and then coming back to the side of the hand and tapping, even though I feel all this anxiety.
Even though I'm feeling all this anxiety.
And I feel it in my, name it for you.
And I feel it in my back.
And it feels like, describe it.
And it feels like tension.
Tension. I honor this is how I feel.
I honor this is how I feel.
And I love and accept myself as I am now.
And I love and accept myself as I am now.
Good. Now come to the top of the head again. This time, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
And I'm going to invite you now to just tune in. Nothing you have to repeat here. Just to kind of reflect and see what's coming up for you. Come to that eyebrow point. And as you tap, ask yourself, what is this anxiety really all about? What's the thing that comes up for you? It may be one thing, it may be more than one. Whatever it is, just honor it. Let those thoughts come up of what the issue may be. And then come to the side of the eye. And as you notice the emotion of that anxiety and where you're feeling it, now start to tune in to what are some of the negative thoughts that are coming up about this anxiety or about this issue that's causing this anxiety. What might it be for you? Once again, just note it, observe them, let them come up and move on underneath the eye. And as you start to notice these negative thoughts, get curious and ask, is there some sort of memory that they might be tied to, or an incident or an issue? Just be curious and see what comes up, knowing whatever comes up is right for you for right now. Underneath the nose. And as you experience this anxiety and you've tuned in now to that emotion, to those thoughts, that memory, ask yourself, is there some sort of negative belief that maybe this is tied to, such as I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not lovable? What might it be for you? Just note what comes up. Maybe it's I'm feeling scarcity. I don't have enough. Maybe growing up there was a message about money. Whatever it might be, just be aware of that. Underneath the mouth. And as you tune into this anxiety, just realize how your body can start to relax more and more with every tap and every breath. And you can still tune into what's going on and become more aware of it while your body's relaxing. And come into the collarbone and realizing that you don't have to have all the answers right now. You can't force yourself, but you can just acknowledge it and tune in. And your body starts to breathe. It feels acknowledged. It feels validated and understood. And your brain starts to see, oh, that's what's happening. Okay. Underneath the arm. And as you're tapping here, Just give yourself a little support, a little validation, recognition for all that your body does, all that your brain does for you, as it starts to shift now to being able to help you in a different way, continuing to let that stress go. And then come back to the side of the hand. And then just take a moment to kind of note for yourself, is there a time where you didn't feel this stress? What was going on for you? Just note it, be curious. How did you feel then? What was happening in your life? How did you deal with it when that stress wasn't there? And can you tune into those feelings? Can you tune into those positive thoughts that you were having? And then can you apply it to whatever's going on for you right now? There doesn't have to be a solution right now. It's just getting curious about, I wonder if I could. And applying, how would you feel? How would you breathe differently? How would you hold your body differently? What thoughts would be going on? Now come back to the top of your head. And once again, just acknowledge the anxiety and just say, repeat out loud or silently, this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good. Now come back to the eyebrow point, and I want you to take a breath in and a breath out, and then say this anxiety.
This anxiety.
And same thing, we're going to do that the whole way around, side of the eye. Breathe in, breathe out, a little longer exhale, and say this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Underneath the eye, take that nice clearing breath in and out, and say this anxiety.
This anxiety.
Underneath the nose, same thing. Breathing in, breathing out. This anxiety.
This anxiety.
Underneath the mouth, breathing in, breathing out. This anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good. Collarbone. Once again, breathing in, breathing out. This anxiety.
This anxiety.
Underneath the arm, take that nice clearing breath in, breath out. This anxiety.
This anxiety.
Good. And come back to the side of your hand and tap. And just gently tune in again to your body. And note, what sensation do you feel? And is there any shift for you from when you started, maybe on a scale of 0 to 10? Where was that sense of anxiety? And where was it in your body? And then where is it now? What is it for you now?
I was like an 8 before.
Yeah.
And now I'm like a 3.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
What shifted for you? What thoughts came up? And you can stop tapping now. And if you don't mind sharing with everybody.
I will share. So I am leaving for Europe in actually like a week, which I'm so excited about. However, it's kind of like this old way of thinking that was coming up, like the overwhelm more so that was coming up, which I guess is kind of like an underlying like anxiousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I got to get everything done. I got to get all my clients set up. I got to do this. I got to do that. So it's like feeling pressed for time and almost like having these old thoughts of like having to work to the bone in order to like enjoy this vacation, which is so not true, but
yeah.
That was coming up for me.
And for everybody, right? You just noticed that going from an 8 to a 3 is huge.
Huge.
And ideally, when you're doing the tapping, I would say, do another round, because you should continue to see that shift. And when you get to that moment, then when ideally you get it down to a 0, you've truly been able to release that and let it go. If it's not, and you get it down to a 1, just kind of ask yourself, what else is in there? And that's at that point in time, when you're underneath a 3, you're able to start looking at more of the positive, right? And kind of rewiring your brain to be able to start looking at possibilities and solutions. Whereas when you're at an 8, it's not going to happen. You're in that feeling, that intensity. And so that's what we're trying to do through the tapping, is bring that down, and then from there, resolve it, and then be able to empower you to be able to go, okay, now what can I do? what else is going on? And you really start to, there's a lot of layers and levels there, but then it's a really empowering tool for you.
Oh, I seriously feel so much better. I always come back to the breath. I'm like a big just breather. That's just me.
Yeah.
And like whenever, it was a little bit of it was like, oh, I need like a deep breath kind of sensation. And then at one point I was able to finally take a deep belly breath and finally kind of just be like, okay, I got this.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So good. Thank you so much. This was
You're
so
welcome.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Obviously, don't do this while you're operating vehicle or machinery.
Although the thing is, you actually can, because you can do it very discreetly. I will share this because I drive as part of my fitness hat, because I love serving the community in that way. And one of the YMCA's that I teach at is about 15 minutes away. And so I will do breath work, as I'm in the car, perfect place to do it. But then on the same time, if I notice, I'm tuning in and I notice something, I'll just tap on my hand points. I mean, I'm holding it, I just take a moment, tap there. Because I'm so used to the points, then I might just have my hands closer together and I'll just tap on the fingernail points, the very corners or edges of the fingernail. Something we didn't do today, but it's a real easy technique where you can just tap on the corner of those fingernails, just repeating whatever the issue is, this anxiety, this stress, this overwhelm, and just do that. Come back to the side of the hand and then do that again. And you're going to see that shift. So you can do it, while you're driving or while something else is going on, and do it very discreetly.
Love that. Thank you so much. This was so helpful. I loved having you on. And guys, by the way, did I mention that she will also be teaching a free 30-minute class for our holistic human performance community? This will be happening September 17th. So check that out on holistichumanperformance.co/live classes. Again, that's /live classes. I will put that in the show notes and it's going to be phenomenal. I'm so excited. You can join us, obviously live stream, and then you can catch the replay as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be
I can't wait. Yeah. So before we sign off, are there any words of wisdom you would like to leave the listeners?
Just knowing you are never alone. There is always support out there in a way that is going to resonate for you. And so be that advocate, reach out for support, find that, so you in turn can find your passion, purpose, and play, and shift if you're dealing with whatever it is in your life, to getting to a point where it's not running you, you are running the show, and being able to live your life to the fullest of your ability, regardless of what's going on.
Beautiful.
And
thank you so much.
Keep tapping.
Keep tapping, tap away. All right, guys. Also one more question. Where can people find you?
So easiest way to find me is going to be tazvazquez.com, my website. Otherwise, I'm also on Facebook, Jen Vazquez or Jennifer Vazquez, and LinkedIn and Instagram. Instagram, though, is @dancingdogs2. Love of dance and love of dogs. Hence, that's where that handle comes from. So you can find me there anytime.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So guys, if you like this episode, like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Don't forget to leave a review, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you.